Hello everyone, I am Sneha, your host for today, welcoming you all yet another episode of Welcome Wellness with Experts, a talk show presented by Trident Communication in association with World Humanitarian Foundation. Today we are going to talk about mental health in students. Mental health, it is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope up with the normal stresses in life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make the contribution to his or her society. Cultural differences, subjective assessments, and competing with professional theories is all that affects the mental health of a person. So now let's speak to our expert, Siddharth Warrior, who is a neurologist and a TEDx speaker. So, how are you doing, Siddharth?
I'm doing well, Sneha. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for joining us today. And it's our pleasure to have you here in our show. And today we are going to talk about mental health. As all of us know, you are a neurologist and a TEDx speaker. So it's a pleasure for us to have you here in our show. So,
Thank
what
you.
does mental health exactly means? Like, what is mental health?
So, for me, mental health is finding a balance between how we are feeling, the thoughts that we have, and the circumstances that we face, and how capable are we in handling the new situations that occur to us every day. We all find our own ways of dealing with things. We all find our own ways of dealing with struggles and new experiences, how to learn, how to cope up with, daily life situations. It is a lot similar to physical health in that we have our limitations. There are things that we can do and there are things that we cannot do. And when
Yes.
suddenly faced with a problem that we cannot face, we struggle. Our body would struggle if somebody asked me to lift 200 kg suddenly. I will not be able to do it. But
Yeah.
with practice, with regular training, I will be able to do it. Similarly, for mental health, we have our limitations, but we are not taught to train. Nobody tells us how to become stronger, how to be able to cope up with new situations. And also, not being able to handle situation is considered shameful, which is
Hmm.
not the case in physical health. Nobody will make fun of you because you're not able to lift 200 kgs. But if you are suddenly not able to cope up with the stress that you're facing in school or in college, if there is an exam coming up and you're not able to study, you're not able to focus, it's almost like it's a shameful thing. People, will not
That is
understand.
how we are conditioned actually from the childhood.
Correct. Correct. So the idea that somebody can have a mental health issue is not normalized at all. So for me, mental health is a topic that definitely should be incorporated more and more into our conversation.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, what are the types of mental illness? Like, can you tell us in detail, like how can we know can this is the type of a mental illness for a
So
normal person, like not being a medico for a normal person?
right. It's not that simple because mental health is being able to cope with everything that life is throwing at you. And any problem that happens in this coping mechanism in the way that we function is a mental health problem. There are so many different ways in which a mind can function wrong. Just like there are so many physical problems. It is like asking what are all the ways in which you can fall sick. There are
Yeah.
so many ways, right? So similarly in mental health also, there are so many ways in which somebody could be suffering. So for naming a few, there is depression, there is anxiety, there is panic disorder, there's post-stress traumatic disorder. All of these are different problems that your mind faces when they have gone through a situation that they cannot handle. Of course, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so there is a whole other specialization dealing with just mental health. My
Yes.
personal take on this is that I'm very interested in trying to understand the neuroscience behind this. So, what
Okay.
happens within the neural networks in the brain when somebody goes through any one of these mental health problems, right? So
Okay.
that is where I'm coming from.
Yeah. So, Siddharth, what are the like signs of mental illness? Does it differ for an adult, for a teenager, or for a kid?
It does. The main difference is that the way we perceive the world keeps changing. So an
Yeah.
adult's perspective of the world is not the same as a teenager's perspective, which is not the same as a 5-year-old's perspective. So the way they perceive a problem changes. And so if the problem itself is different, obviously the way they handle it will change.
Will change,
And,
yes.
and then if there is a mental health issue, then the way they express that mental health issue will also be different, which is why there is actually a need for subspecialization, that is people who are specialized in child psychiatry to deal with problems that specifically children face. So even in counseling, you may have heard of school counselors, student counselors.
Yes. Yes.
The reason that exists is because everybody's needs are different, so we have to understand that specific topic.
Okay. So, what are the most common mental health issues that students are suffering right now, or what students are facing right now?
So one of the problems with mental health is that if one thing starts going wrong, it reduces the tolerance level for the other things. So usually somebody, a student, say for example, is suffering from anxiety. Now this could be because of too much competition. Their exam is coming up. They have too much competition in NEET. They want a particular result. They want a particular rank, and they're not able to cope up with this. So that can lead to anxiety. But that is not the end of the story, because if one mental health problem continues, anxiety can lead to panic attacks, anxiety can lead to depression. You can have more than one mental health problem at the same time. So that is what is important to understand, that mental health problems can merge into one another and evolve into one another. So the
Okay.
earlier you pick it up and the earlier you start therapy, the better it is for that student.
So, Sid, like, is there any particular cause for this mental illness that, or there are many causes which makes this mental illness to happen in students especially?
It is a multifactorial problem, always. It is very, very rarely just one thing that has caused this. So unlike some physical problems, like for example, if somebody gets malaria,
Hmm.
you know that, okay, the malaria is because of a particular parasite that has come in from the bite of a mosquito. But in mental
Yes.
health, we cannot say that your anxiety is because you did not do well in this one exam. It's never like that. Before that exam, there has been a series of events that has made that person susceptible to have anxiety. So it is usually multiple factors coming together, right from genetics, family, your support system, your own personal space, your environment. All of these things come together to create a mental health problem, which is why the
Okay.
solution should also be multifactorial. It is not
Multifactorial.
just that you take this one medicine and you're all right. The
Yeah.
solution has to reflect the problem.
Yes. Like many of the things affect the mental health. It's a series of events actually.
Exactly.
So, like, what percentage of teens or students studying in school and universities are exactly affected by this mental problem? Like, is there any percentage?
So I'm not aware of this percentage in students specifically, but one of the scary statistics that I read is that overall in depression, 1 in 10 people have a chance of getting depression in their lifetime.
Okay.
Which, if you think about it, is such a sobering statistic, because 1 in 10 means 1 person in every family almost.
Yeah.
And so that means that we all know, if say we all know around 100 people quite closely, that means that we know at least 10 people who are suffering from depression. Whether they know it or not is a different thing, or whether we
Yes.
know it or not is a different thing, but it is a prevalent problem. And it is not fair on our own society to have this twisted look towards it. We have to be open about it. We have to accept that this is a problem that more and more people are facing, and it is only going to increase. Now the problem with student mental health is that, a, it's taken even less seriously than in adults. B, students may not always be able to express what it is that they're going through. And it is too easy to dismiss a mental problem that a child is complaining of, because it is very easy for an adult to say, this is life. You have
Yeah.
to deal with this. In during my time, I went through this. Even you can go through this. there is this tendency to dismiss mental problems that children face until it is quite progressed. So that is why it is important to start this conversation right at school levels.
Yeah, exactly. First, we have to identify the problem, like this is the mental illness exactly.
Correct.
So, if anyone suffering from anxiety or depression or going through any mental illness, so who is the first person whom they should look?
So this is one of the important points that you've raised, because I believe that the responsibility of treating mental health should not lie 100% on the patient themselves, especially if it is a student or a child, because you cannot say that it is your fault that you did not reach out to a therapist or a counselor and take treatment on time. We as a society have a responsibility of making sure that our students have access to good therapeutic care, our students have access to counseling, and that our parents and our teachers are trained to spot the signs of
Okay.
early mental health problems. We cannot say that why didn't a sixth standard student tell us that he or she was having anxiety. That is not
Yeah.
their responsibility. We have to take care of our students. So I believe that in schools, teachers need to be trained to spot early signs of depression, early signs of anxiety. And parents also need to be taught about what are the things that they should look out for in their child. And secondly, there should be counselors who come to schools and talk to students and give the students the awareness that if you are going through any of this, reach out to us. Tell us that you are going through this. Don't suffer alone, because that is the only way that you can open up that conversation.
So, what is the role of parents in a child's mental health development? How they affect a child for his or her mental growth?
I believe that parents have the one of the most important roles to play, because when you talk about mental health and anxiety, if you take away all the complexity, there is only one thing that we are talking about, which is the fear response, the stress response. Everything that is new to us, everything that is scary to us can threaten you, can trigger a stress response. The way we deal with stress is
Yes.
first and foremost taught to us by our parents.
Yeah.
As a child, we are taught on how to deal with stress by our parents, and how to handle a challenge, how to handle success, how to handle failure. These things
Yes.
actually are taught to us from a very early age. And after that, everything in school, in college, teachers, friends, all of that just gets added on top of it. So, right from there, I believe parents have a very important role in setting an example as to how to deal with stress. And two, parents are the best people to spot early signs of mental health problems. So if
Yes.
they know what they're looking for, then they will be able to get the child to help at a much early stage.
Okay. So, how can a student improve his or her mental health? Like, what all the activities that he can incorporate in his daily routine to improve his mental health?
So, like I said at the start, mental health is a balancing act, and it is a constantly improving thing. It is not that if I say I'm mentally healthy today and then I don't pay any attention to it, I will be mentally healthy all my life. It's not like that. It's just like physical health. I may be having six packs today, but for 1 year, if I only eat pizza and drink beer, then in 1 year, my physical health will not be that good. So
Yes.
similarly, you have to train students, and students also will gradually realize that mental health is something that they have to keep working on, and you have to keep finding that balance. So believing that the only thing that is important to me is getting the first rank in an exam may not actually be very healthy, because that can lead to a distortion in the way that you look at the world. So realizing that everything is important, your friends are important, your family is important, and all the things that you would like to do, your hobbies, your own personal likes and dislikes, those are important. So that it is a conversation. I don't have a one line magic answer as to how every student can suddenly become find that perfect balance, but every student does have to find it by themselves. And the most important thing, I believe, is conversation and communication. So
Like celebration and communication with the parents and the teachers.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Now, nowadays, we are seeing in India also, like every school has a psychological counselor
yeah,
and they are trained for that purpose.
yeah, and that's a very good thing. That's a very welcome change that should happen.
Yeah. So, any last message, Sid, you want to give to our viewers regarding the mental health?
One thing I would like to say is that being a student in India is not easy. The
Yes.
competition is tough, and because there are fewer seats, we are led to believe that it is like a win or lose situation, make or break. Every exam is going to be the most important exam of your life. So there is something to be said for healthy competition. If you can use that to channelize your own energy, great. But remember that there is always another opportunity, there's always another exam. You First and foremost, if you are not well, if you are not healthy both mentally and physically, then nothing else really makes sense. All the dreams that you have, everything you want to do, is only going to happen if you are healthy. So please take care of yourself, take care of your physical and mental health. Reach out to people if you are having some trouble, and that is the only way that we can sustain this journey of education.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you so much for such a wonderful things you have told us regarding the mental health. And for this, I can make out like parents are much more responsible than the students, than the kids, to
Yeah,
take them towards a good mental health.
I believe so. Thank you, Sneha.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And stay tuned for more Welcome Wellness episodes coming up every Sunday. And don't forget to subscribe our channel. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, and bye bye.